We're always talking about our weird cravings and that it is very difficult to control those. Why does that happen? Hi, I'm Dr. Rashmi Kulkarni, co founder of Next Solutions. When we are talking about different food cravings, some people just crave healthy things. While on the other hand, some people have extremely unhealthy cravings of junk food, of processed food, of things that they know are not good for them. So, what is it that decides these cravings? Surprisingly, there are 5 important factors that are responsible for healthy or unhealthy cravings. One of them is our gut microbiome. So, the germs in our gut actually decide what we crave. And what decides what lives in our gut? The germs in our gut are determined by the kind of lifestyle we have, by the kind of food we eat. If we tend to eat unhealthy foods all the time, we will only have germs that can digest that kind of food. And they are only going to crave for or ask for more and more of this junk food or unhealthy food. Because when they digest this unhealthy food, they are making all of the chemicals or metabolites that only support the growth of these unhealthy germs. So the next time you crave something unhealthy, it is because it has been going on for a while and there's a need to break that cycle. The second important factor to know is that there are many emotional or psychological triggers. Many people look at food as something that provides comfort for the stress they have in their lives. It's a temporary solution for the problems we have in our lives that, oh, let me eat a bag of chips, let me drink some Coke or alcohol for that matter. So these foods and drinks are a response to emotional or psychological triggers. They are not really cravings. They provide temporary relief, but what happens in the long run is that they are going to give rise to more and more and more unhealthy cravings. The third important factor that we always should consider is marketing and advertisements. There are so many commercials we keep seeing on television, on social media, on YouTube that show us so many different unhealthy kinds of foods, and it depends on our browsing history. So if we have been looking at things that are not really healthy, we are going to constantly be bombarded with similar types of feeds on our social media especially. So when we look at marketing and what we are exposed to, our previous history determines what we are going to see. If we see unhealthy foods, we are more likely to want to eat them. So this is just an emotional or a psychological response to what we are seeing, to the marketing, to the commercials. And people promote or pay for advertisements because they want to sell their food, because they want to promote all of these foods that are not very healthy. So when we have all of these commercials that are trying to sell or promote foods that need to be promoted because they are not healthy, we really have to be very careful about choosing such foods. Why do they need advertising? Healthy foods are never advertised so much. The fourth thing that we need to look at are cultural and social interactions. So culturally, there are many foods that are associated with specific cultures, specific traditions. Then there are social interactions. So culturally, most of the foods are pretty healthy. But if we look at some social interactions, there might be some very unhealthy things going on. If you interact with people who have unhealthy eating habits, how likely are you going to choose healthy foods? Are you able to influence other people to choose healthy, or will you choose unhealthy foods along with them when you are in this kind of a social network? So that is something that also influences our food choices heavily, the cultural practices and the social interactions. And the fifth thing that is very important is the kind of education we have about nutrition. If we know what is good for us, we learn a lot in our schools, in our education system. There's a lot about nutrition and food and the choices that we have. But if we go to social media, for example, or the influencers that are talking about nutrition and pay attention to those instead of using our own common sense or our own basic knowledge or our own traditional practices. If we use those as references, then that's going to be a big problem. So if we just manage to educate ourselves properly about food, that can have a very different outcome. So these are the top 5 reasons why we have all of these unhealthy cravings, and they need to be addressed. If you found this information useful, do like this, and please don't forget to subscribe or share it with people who might find it useful. See you in the next one.